Hello and welcome back. In our last video, we were able to set up our workspace and import Bootstrap into our folder. So in this video, we're going to create a registration page. So we want to register users that are going to be making use of our blog. So we're going to start with creating our database table. Okay, so currently we have our blog database. So inside of our blog, we're going to click blog. I'm going to create a new table. I'm going to call it users. Right. So users are going to have a couple of columns or fields. So let's create like 5 columns first and see if that will be enough for us. Okay. So the first thing we need is the ID column. We need the first name. We need the last name of the user. We need the email address. We need the password. Once users register with password. So we're going to add more here. So we need two things. We need the role of the user. We want to know if the user is an admin or just a normal user. And finally, we're going to be using created ad. So ID is going to be int. It's going to be of data type int. So we're going to make it 11. Then we'll make it auto increment. So I want the ID to auto increment. Then first name is going to be variable character. So we'll make it 25. Last name, same thing, variable character. Email is going to be variable character. And so we can make it like 50, depending on the length. So password is going to be variable character also. So let's make it 255. The role is going to be variable character, and we're going to make it 11. We're going to set it to default. So we're going to say default as defined. So everyone is going to be a user by default. And created ad, we're going to use timestamp. We don't need any length here. So under default, we're going to say current timestamp. And that is all we need for our table. So we'll just scroll down and we'll save. All right. And our table has been created successfully. If you click on the structure, you see what the structure looks like, auto increment and the rest. So let's go ahead and start working on the front end. Okay. So we go, so for now, our index.php is going to be our registration page. Okay. So we'll start our HTML. So get our basic structure for HTML. So say register. And inside of the body or inside of the head, let's import Bootstrap. But before then, let's just create our form. We're going to create a div. And let's create our form inside of the div. All right, so we're going to say action, and action should be data /register.php, and the method is going to be post. So why did I say data/php? So we have a data folder here. So this is where everything is going to reflect. Okay. So and let's insert some input here. So if we should say input, but before then, okay, go ahead. Let's go ahead with the input. So say input type should be text, and the name should be first name, the name attribute, first name. So let's refresh our browser and see what we have. So we go to localhost blog and we visit index.php. And you see we have that form input. All right. So the next thing we're going to do, let's import our Bootstrap. So we'll create everything. So inside of the head tag, we're going to use the link tag. We're going to import our Bootstrap. So our Bootstrap is located inside assets. So inside of the href, we'll say assets / the next one we have is Bootstrap. then forward slash. So we want to locate our CSS. So go to CSS, and inside of CSS, we want to locate bootstrap.css. So scroll down, we see bootstrap.css. So I'm just going to copy this and duplicate. So bootstrap.css. Okay, so I'll shrink this back and close all of the folders. All right, so from here, we're going to, the first div, we're going to add a class, call it container. So I'll try my best to make the videos to be short. All right, so we're going to create a div inside of this. And before that, let's position all of this in the center. So we're going to create a new div. We're going to call it class row. We're going to use Bootstrap grid for this. So inside of this div, we're going to copy and paste our table inside of it. Okay. So we're going to create one more div here. So the div is going to be class column. We want it as large screen to be of column, let's say 6. Okay. Then we'll paste our div here. Sorry, our form. So I'll copy all of these. I'll do Shift Tab to align them to the left. All right. So the next thing we're going to do, our form, we're going to wrap it, our form inputs, we're going to wrap them around with the div. I want to say class margin bottom to be 3. Okay. So I'm going to copy this inputs, and I'm going to add a class to the input and call it form control. Okay. So if you want to learn about all of these Bootstrap classes, have them in our previous tutorial. All right, so I'm doing this because I'm creating this for people who have gone through the previous tutorial. So I'm not like creating it for beginner. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is inside of here. Okay, let's look at what we got first of all. So before then, let's add a label here. So create a new tag, call it label. I'll call it class. We'll give it a class of form label. And we'll give it the name of first. We'll give it the content of first name. All right. So let's refresh our browser and see what we have. So we have first name, and this is to tell us that currently our Bootstrap is not correctly imported. All right. So let's troubleshoot. So our Bootstrap assets. Oh, so there is a spelling error with our assets folder. So this is the correct spelling. So let's rename it. So here we have ASSESTS. So that's not correct. So let's rename. So let's take out one of the S. So I want it to be like this, assets. Okay. So it's not renaming here. Rename it one more time. All right. So it's not renaming. I think that's because we have the folder currently opened. So if we try it one more time, if it doesn't rename, we're going to improvise. All right. So let's try to rename it from here. That's because it's currently open here. Okay. So we'll go back and rename it. All right. So it couldn't rename because currently inside of our File Explorer, asset was open. So now that we've renamed, let's go back and refresh. And you see here we have our project working fine. The Bootstrap is loaded fine. So let's quickly complete this. So all we're going to do now is we're going to say margin top here. Well, first of all, inside of the row, we're going to say style display flex justify content center. So we're going to justify the content to be centered. So now it's displaying at the center. Then we're going to add a couple of classes here. We'll say margin top. Let's put it at 5. Yeah, so we have that. So inside of our form or still here, we're going to say border. Add the border, then we'll say rounded, and that should be it. Okay, and we're going to add a padding. We're going to add a padding of 3 to it. All right, so everything is looking good. So inside of here, we could still add a title. Let's use H5 and say register. And we'll add a class to it. I'll call it text center, right? Let's refresh and see what we have here. So everything is looking good. So we're just going to copy and duplicate all of this. So we have first name, last name, email, password. Those are the things we need. So permit me to just separate this. Last name. We change the name attribute to last name still. Then we'll change this to email. And same thing here. And we change this to password. Okay. Then we'll change this to password as well. So we're almost done. So we're going to add a button here. Let's add a button. Button, we give it a class. We give it btn, then we're going to call it, let's call it primary. Okay. And we're going to call it the contents register. So like that. Once we refresh, yeah, we have our registration form looking good. Okay, so one more thing we're going to do is, you see on the password tab, if you type anything, it's displaying. For the email, yeah, we're going to add a required attributes and fix all of that. So let's go back to our form input. So in all of this, we're going to add required. We're going to call this required. We want the users to enter them. So we'll change it to last name. Then on the email type, we're going to say email. And for the password type, we're going to say password. Right? I'm still going to add the required attributes there. All right. So this is what we have currently. So you see, by default, it has fetched a default email for me that has been saved, and the password is not visible to the users anymore. All right. So if I try to click on register, it's going to prompt me to fill up all of these fields. And if I enter an email that is not valid, it's going to prompt me to enter a valid email with @ symbol. Okay. So I don't want these videos to be long. So we've created our front end for the register.php. So sorry, for the index.php, which is our registration page. In the next video, we're going to create the back end where we're going to register and insert the user into the blog database and on the users table. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.